Good morning, comic book fans. Welcome back to Comics in 5 Minutes. I'm your Evelyn Shorty, and today we're going to be reviewing Cemetery Kids Don't Die. This is a fantastic title for a comic book. Honestly, when I saw that title, I was like, yeah, I'm going to absolutely have to check that one out. You may notice this is the James Stokoe variant cover. I added that one on because I thought I might give this one a shot. It's written by Zach Thompson, who's a writer I've really enjoyed before. The artist is Daniel Irizarry. I'm not familiar with them, but they do a really, really good job on it. And like I say, if I'm going to pull something, I want to go for a really cool cover. Stokoe is fantastic. I'm not going to tell you right now if I've decided to pull it just yet. Let's get to the end and we'll discuss that one. We're going to start with the artwork though. So when I flipped open the comic book in the shop for the first time, I was really impressed by it. There's a whole bunch of reasons why, but the thing that stood out to me is the fact this is a story set in two different places, one in a game world and the other one in the real world, in contemporary Canada. And the game world is fantastic. It's brutal, post-industrial gothic horror, very, I don't know, I want to say Bloodborne or Dark Souls kind of vibe to it, including the character design, which is really quite nice. People like that kind of thing. The violence is brilliant and unforgiving. It's got its own sense of place, like a really effective one. The artist uses onomatopoeia to perfection throughout. And then the real world, although it certainly is more normal, more what we would expect to see, they also have the chance to do some really cool things with it. In the video game world, there's colouring, although it is deep in its own way, it's also very much a set palette. In the real world, they have a bit more fun with it, including playing around with the interplay of light and shadow really, really well. There's a fantastic dappling effect used to show shadow in daytime that it just is 100% effective. Also, the character designs, although they don't have the big over-the-top flamboyance of video game characters, they're also really well defined, and every single character feels unique because of choices of hair and makeup and clothing. It's all brilliant. It looks fantastic. It's the writing, though, which gets a little bit in the way of itself, and I mean that quite literally. There's so much going on. As I've already said, it's a story set in a video game world and the real world. In the video game world alone, we have an entire universe worth of lore ready to explore. There's some fantastic stuff set up in the first issue. Also, the fact that people who are playing this video game seem to realise it's not playing the way it's supposed to, adding a layer of sinisterness to that game. In the real world, it's a biomechanical, not augmented reality, virtual reality machine, and it only works when you're sleeping. It's called the Dream Wave, or Dreamweave, I think, and that in itself is kind of interesting, because it means you're basically going into a shared dream reality, but that's not working correctly either. The limits you're supposed to have on it, only 8 hours while you sleep, and it match checks your circadian rhythm, even that's not working, which adds another layer of weird creepiness to it. But in the real world, most of our story is about grief and loss and trauma. Our two main characters, a brother and sister, lost their parents in a road traffic incident. The younger sister, I'm trying to remember that, is in a wheelchair, but she's coping with it. She's trying her best to deal with what's happening and moving on from it. The older one, the brother, is really not dealing with it very well. He's pushing people away, he's disappearing for quite some time, and it's becoming problematic, and this is the surface level look at it, that yeah, he's gone to a video game for escapism because he's clearly not dealing with it, but it's very surface level, because once you're in the real world, you've got the relationships these people have with other people in the world. There's a couple of their friends who play the video game with them, and also friends in real life, so they've seen what it's like for the brother and the sister, and how one of them is trying possibly too hard to engage with the brother, how the brother is pushing away from that, maybe pushing harder because of what's going on, but he's also dealing with other aspects of his personal life. I mean, he's had to be a grown-up at a much younger age than he wanted to because his parents died, and he's got a kind of boyfriend that he's pushing away from who's not coping very well with. And all this basically means there's a lot going on, and a lot of threads interwoven together in ways which are really interesting. The only reason all these amazing things haven't made me absolutely grab this comic book and be like, yes, I'm totally committed to it, is there's so much that I'm not sure there's going to be enough time to spend over the next few issues, or however long this comic book runs, to really get under the skin of any of these issues, to really untangle them and lay them out and present the ending to their stories in a satisfying way. I think there is just the risk that there's too much. And yeah, I know that's kind of like a backhanded way of, talking about it, because I like the idea of like really rich storytelling. But then we get to the ending, which ties in some of these things, like the game world being kind of unusual and the technology not working quite nicely, and even more to do with the relationship between the brother and sister. And it comes in this really nice twist that I was genuinely like, oh, okay, I want to know what's going to happen next. So I'm going to go down for issue 2. I'm going to see what happens with it. I'll check if there's a cool variant cover to match my Stokoe one, but after that, I think it does depend on how well I think they're going to handle all these interplaying story points. If it comes across as still being a little bit too busy, a little bit too jumbled, a little bit like I'm grabbing hold of stuff and just seeing where it goes, then maybe it isn't me for the long haul. But I really hope it manages it, because it looks fantastic. The characters are brilliant, and I do like all the individual things they're doing. I just hope it has room to, the story has room to build. That's it from me for now. I've not got much else left to review this week. If you want to make sure you don't miss them, make sure you do the social media thing. But until I see you all again, look after each other, everyone. Stay safe. Bye.